In this video, we're going to talk about the stimulus check and the stimulus package update for August the 1st and possibly a rent strike. But before we do, if this is your first time at our channel or you haven't subscribed, click on the subscribe button at the bottom. My name is Travis Sickle, certified financial planner, helping you reach your financial goals. So as of yesterday, the federal unemployment of the additional $600 ran out, and Congress is debating on whether or not they're going to extend it or what the next iteration of the federal unemployment is going to look like. Meanwhile, millions of Americans are wondering what they're going to do to pay their rents, and we're seeing headlines like this that's saying, what do you do if you're at risk of eviction now that the CARES Act moratorium has ended? Well, the first thing that you need to do is you need to call your landlord and work with them, whether or not that's making a smaller payment or a delayed payment. Because if you don't contact them, they're thinking the same thing that you are. You don't know what's going to happen next. They don't know if they're getting paid, and you don't know if you can make that payment. And this is the same if you have a mortgage payment. Now, the options for the mortgage payments is to call your lender to do exactly the same thing you could for the renters, which is making a smaller payment, a delayed payment, which is going into forbearance. So talk to your lender to find out what those options are. And the worst thing that you could possibly do is doing nothing. And these issues obviously don't stop with just the rent payments or the mortgage payments. They carry over to the lenders and the landlords just the same. In fact, I was forwarded an email that was talking about a rent strike for 2020, about signing petitions and not making the rent payments, and basically going on strike against making those payments. And there are some landlords that are in the same boat as the renters. So it's going to be bad on both sides if this doesn't get sorted out quickly. Now, they do seem to be making some headway in Congress. They did work today. It looks like they're going to work tomorrow and Monday, obviously until this thing gets done, until they have a deal. So Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin said that this was the longest meeting. It was the most productive. Now, they seem to always talk in superlatives. Everything's always the greatest, but at least they're making progress. And it sounds like they are on both sides, both on the Republican side and the Democratic side. And then in a press conference with some reporters, Chuck Schumer said that they were making progress, but they still had ways to go. Nancy Pelosi said that they're food insecure and facing eviction. So she pointed out that there was a problem with the evictions and making those rent payments because the additional $600 has run out as of yesterday. And even though Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin said that the meeting was the most productive to date, he also said there's still ways to go before they have a deal. Now, listening to everything, watching all the news, looking at all the proposals, it does seem like they are making progress, because the deals that we've seen so far to date are looking at $2,000 payments, looking at $1,200 payments. In fact, we got $1,200 payments on both sides. And then on the unemployment side, we had the $600 being extended. We had a $450 bonus plan. And then the most recent one was the $200 that would switch over to a 70% wage replacement. And with that stimulus check and the unemployment side, it does look like they're not only making headway, it looks like they're actually going to come out with a stimulus check and additional unemployment. Now, I didn't hear anything on the PPP or the EIDL being extended even further or getting additional funding from what's already been proposed, with the PPP targeting businesses that had 50% or more in reduction in their revenue. Now, that seems like a huge stretch, so I hope that gets revamped to open it up to other businesses rather than only looking at the ones that have been the most hit. And I don't think that's the right move with the small businesses, only targeting those that had 50% or more in reductions of their revenue. First, it's a really terrible metric because it all matters on the margin. So if you have a business that runs on super thin margins, just looking at revenue isn't going to do a whole lot, because if that revenue is down a little bit for some businesses, that could be just catastrophic. And you also have to look at the overhead. Some businesses don't have a lot of overhead while others have a ton. And then there were those businesses that were doing everything that they could through the pandemic to stay open, but really just hanging on by a thread and doing it. And if they're over that threshold, maybe their business was down 49%, they might not qualify for that next round of stimulus money for their small business. Basically saying that they were better off closing their doors completely and not doing absolutely anything, including anything online, to make any sort of revenue, and could be excluded from the next round of PPP money. Now, the positives here are that they're working on a plan to figure out what they can do. No plan is going to be just perfect. But on the other side of it was really the pandemic and what's going on in this country. Dr. Fauci came out and said that he's cautiously optimistic that they could have a vaccine by the end of this year. Now, going through all of this, you can see how connected everything is and how everything relies on the other pieces of the puzzle to move forward. Now, it's not to say that the stimulus money is good or bad, because what we don't know is what those long-term effects are going to be, because they haven't happened. And what the history books are telling us is that they actually should have happened already. We should have had inflation. There should have been other problems with doing all of this, but there's not. The market should not have come up given what the history books have shown us. So it's really unknown exactly what this is going to all do for the country and the world in just giving this stimulus money. But what we can see is a huge shift in how business is being done. And the amazing thing is how fast some businesses have adapted. And while I talk a lot about financial moves and improving your financial life, it is really important to keep a positive mindset and look at the options that you have in front of you and think of it methodically, because life moves really fast and you don't want to miss those opportunities. Now, let me know in the comments down below, which parts are you most interested in, whether it's the stimulus check to the stimulus package to your small business to personal finance, and I'll try and touch on those as much as possible moving forward. And if you've enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and leave your comments down at the bottom.